Now, everybody, I'm Cantonese Cat. Hey, everybody, Cantonese Cat here. I had to start my computer. It was really slow. Hopefully, my sound, everything is okay. Please do let me know that it's not. I think last time I did a live stream on Wednesday, and on the second half, the volume wasn't. I think somebody told me about it. I thought the problem was fixed, but I wasn't sure. So if you have any audio issues or anything like that, please do let me know, because I do want to save this live stream. And if it's not, the audio quality is poor, and there's really kind of, a little bit pointless here. So thank you for joining me this morning. I want to welcome each and every one of you. I haven't had a chance to made a post to extend out to get too many chart requests. So you guys feel free to throw out any requests or questions or anything like that. I'm going to do my best to try to answer you. I will start by saying good morning to everybody that have joined us, and including Logains, Do Nazis, Vivian, of course, Henry, Messa, welcome. First question is, do you think that February could be the month for Doge if January was not? We're going to talk about Doge here in a second. I generally like to do like stocks and whatnot at the first half, and I'm probably going to go a little bit more into crypto second half. But since I don't really have that much request here today, because I didn't really reach out to people to ask for requests, I think I might jump a little bit more into indexes and then just immediately jump into crypto here. Maybe even going to do a little bit of a shorter show here today. We'll see. First of all, I do want to talk about the indexes here. SPX, right? SP 500 index. You have the Gann square here. That's drawn all the way from the depths of the great financial crisis. And you can see that each of this arc here, it does mean something. And it's just been gravitating from arc and horizontal to arc to horizontal up to the next horizontal level up here around 2022. And it just basically collapses, came back as the arc here, and then just kind of pushed through, right? And then once we push through here, and right now we actually just kind of push through an arc here. We haven't really quite had the back test yet. So we got kind of close to it. We didn't really quite have that yet, with the market makers kind of how do you say that? The market makers being a little bit trickier, like they usually are. I do wonder whether or not they might throw some bad news out there and maybe make us backtest the arc here. Who knows, right? I do want to be a little bit more cautious with the market short term. The reason why is just because it's kind of silly how when we got really close to all-time high, but it was just barely dipping, you have like more bears than bulls the week before last week. And the next thing you know, last week, with price action looking better, you actually have more bulls than bears. Sometimes it's just doesn't really take much to change the sentiment. So so if you listen to sentiment, if you're trading through sentiment and news, I think you might be doing things a little bit wrong here, because it's just probably not ideal. Now, if I'm going to pull up the S&P 500 index fund SPY here, I'm going to kind of tell you a little bit in terms of why I think maybe next week would be good to be a little bit more cautious here. First thing is, if you look at a daily Gann chart here, if I just turn off the volume, you can see how beautiful this is, right? Like really from the August 5th scare all the way up to now, it's been following some pretty decent market symmetry here. The way I drew it is through 360 and 0.5. And it gives you some pretty beautiful market symmetry here. Now, what it is really telling me is that after it breaks through an arc, it might come back, or you may even break through back underneath the arc and back test the arc underneath, right? Over here, we conventionally basically just pushed through the low arc here, came back test, found confluence here at the angle, and then just kind of pushed through to the next arc from there. Spent about 2 weeks, couldn't get through, came back down, back tested horizontal here almost perfectly around 575. And then we just kind of thrust it through here with multiple gap ups here, which really have gotten people change their sentiment from bearish to bullish, just because price action has been extremely crazy, right? You did end up breaking below this line, this trend line over here. So I think that this is a true breakout. The only problem, there are two problems with current price action. One is this whole uptrend over here over the last, how many days? 1, 2, 3, like over the last 9 trading days has been on a little bit of a declining volume. I was just wondering whether or not this uptrend here may be a little bit exhausted. Right. On top of that, you know how they love these gap closes. Everybody talks about gap closes. I don't think all gaps have to be closed. You know, like it just looking at history of S300, like I just don't think that all daily gaps have to close. There are actually a lot of daily gaps that are not closed previously in history, so I don't think it necessarily has to be the case. But it's interesting because this downtrend here in January 13, that was to close this gap, right? And then as we gone up, we left gaps open here. So I think we're going to end up closing all these recent gaps here. Probably end up going all the way down to maybe 585, almost exactly to the dot there. And we are hitting a resistance zone up here on the horizontal, you know, which we haven't really had a chance to challenge yet. So maybe Monday could be a pretty bullish day, get rejected there. And then it needs to probably find some kind of higher low. How low does it get? There are 3 gaps here that I'm seeing. Gap number 1, gap number 2, and then gap number 3, right? I think the gap number 3 is probably going to get closed here. I think minimally before we push through these horizontal here, probably going to come back test the ARK here because we got rejected here, pushed through, haven't really hit the back test yet, and we have a little bit of declining volume. So I think that's probably what's going to happen. But who knows? If it ends up doing that, then it would just be a higher low before challenging up here. It could decide to come all the way back down to this arc over here, where again it got rejected here. Maybe we back test as support, right, and close the second gap over here before going up higher. Or if the market maker decide to do something evil and just come all the way back down to close the gap down here, I think that's also a possibility. The reason why I think it's a possibility because you can dip down underneath a little bit here at the bottom of the cloud and just kind of wick underneath of it. It could certainly do that. There's no reason to think that they wouldn't do something like that. Even if we, and I do have to point this out, even if we do have a very bullish katana here, this is what we call a katana. If those people who don't understand what a katana is, I talk about this periodically. This was something that was championed by the Titan of crypto, one of the really good accounts on X that really talk, also look at Ichimoku Cloud, mostly for Bitcoin, but I look at Ichimoku Cloud for everything. You know, I look at Ichimoku Cloud and generally have a blue line, you have a red line. Blue line is the leading line, red line is the lagging line. If you have a cross between the blue over the red, generally is what we call bullish cross. If you have a fusion between the two, generally means that you have a lot of volatility that's recently happened. And if it's becoming more of a bullish cross, then this katana, the fusion of the red and blue, is suggesting that a very good, decent bullish move, maybe longer term, is probably going to end up happening, right? Last time we had a katana, maybe down here, you can call that maybe a little bit of a katana. The time before that, let me see here. I'm not really seeing any, like you can see a bearish katana and it just end up going to the downside, right? These things generally work more in higher time frame. Like if you look at the weekly here, the last time we had a weekly katana was over here, back in December 2023, when you have a huge volatility that was happening throughout July through October 2023, right? The katana was happening, and next thing you know, when you have expansion, it just went way up, right? This, you can see that from history over and over again. I mean, like these things are not common, but when they happen, they generally bring on some pretty decent moves. I'm not really seeing another one here in the S&P 500 here, but you get the idea, right? And so far, we're seeing that here on the daily. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're not going to come back and back test some things, right? We certainly can, right? We certainly can come back and back test any of these levels here below, but it's still a more bullish indicator. Do I think that's something sinister like back in August 5th is going to happen, where it's just going to punch through and make like a crazy lower low here and just kind of wick down here on the weekly? Well, not wick down, but create like a big giant, red candle here. Do I think that has to wick down all the way back test the red line over here around like 560? I'm not sure that it's going to have to do that. I'm not sure if it's gonna have to do that, and it's also getting really close to the previous all-time high here, right? You wake up above, you actually form an all-time high this past week, right? So I don't know whether or not something sinister has to happen. It just looks like we're breaking trend line after trend line. It looks like it wants to keep going higher. But we are a little bit exhausted here on a daily, so don't be surprised if it comes back to some things here. Form a little bit of a higher low here, kind of like it did over here, right? Trying to challenge the previous all-time high here, and then decide to come back and get really close to the kitchen, right? Before pushing up again. So it could come back down to try and back test some things here, but around support band is also right around here to around 587 or so. So it could certainly decide to do that, and that would not be like a bearish thing. Although, like, I can see how it could drive retail investors like crazy, you know. But right now, that's kind of what I'm seeing. I see this area over here to be more or less very kind of similar to like the July August area over here, like maybe around here, right? I don't necessarily see another like drastic move down here anymore at this point. So, but regardless, if this week turns out to be bearish, there's a reason for that, right? I just kind of lay down the cases here. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Am I going to do something about this? No, because I'm not leveraged. I'm holding everything in spot. I don't have margin. I don't care. Just going to ride it out here. The NASDAQ. If you look at the NASDAQ here, and please do let me know if there's any like volume issues because that kind of sucked on Wednesday when I had that volume issue. The NASDAQ here, I also got a can here, and you can see how the arcs here mean something, how the arcs here means something, how the arc up here means something. Came back, got really close to the back test the angle and just kind of pushed through, rejected by the arc here initially, pushed through back test the arc twice, right? And then we just pushed through this horizontal here. You know how hard we had a hard time breaking through horizontal here for about 5 months, and we broke through, right? So, and also on top of the last month, everybody was calling this to be like a toppy candle. I guess so many people commenting. I'm like, yeah, you got a really bearish candle over here. How can you be bullish? This looks like a not a hangman. This looks like a gravestone doji or shooting star, whatever you call it. And I was like, just follow the trend. We got over 1.618 here. It's a bull trend. I'm not that worried. Next thing you know, this month so far, I mean, granted, there's a few more trading days to the month, but so far the monthly candle certainly looks bullish, doesn't it? Came back to the 1.618 here. It looks like it wants to keep going up higher. But again, short term, it does look a little bit bearish here to me in the short term. Why I would say that it does look like a little bit of an island top here. It just kind of shot up, gap up here, and kind of left a gap over here that probably looks like it wants to fill because the entire way up here, the volume just really wasn't that impressive, right? And it ends up coming back, filling a gap, or even go a little bit lower. It's not the end of the world, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Because you also just kind of look at if I do a trend line here, if you believe in trend lines, it has a ways to go here and can still be extremely bullish. So, um, for those people who don't know what I mean by island gaps, or island gap, what do you call it? Island reversal. This is an island. Usually, you have a gap here, and the island is formed because you have a hard time pushing up about further. And you have a gap down here to fill. So a lot of times you might consolidate here a little bit longer, and then just comes back and just fills the gap, and it does a little bit of a downtrend. That's kind of what I meant by that. So Jerome going to fill those gaps for the Bears, yeah, and then our midweek crisis will be over following. Yeah, the sentiment just flipped, really bullish here. So I think if Jerome wants to do his thing and just kind of crash things down here a little bit, flush out a lot of the leverage and whatnot, it's not the end of the world. I guess what I'm trying to say. IWM, I actually think that IWM is not looking that bad. Can it come back and back test the 0.786 here again? It certainly can. It can do wherever it wants to. It's the market. The market doesn't have to listen to me. But I just think that it's formed a very nice higher low here. And I think that so far we got the boomerang support band here that got reclaimed. Can it come back and back test the boomerang support band? It certainly can. It can do a lot of things. But I think because of how vicious it was for IWM compared to the QQQ and the SPY, because of how vicious it was for IWM, I think we already had the downside. A lot of people have these kinds of bias. I'm going to take a sip of tea here. Just give me a second. A lot of people have these kinds of bias. It's like, oh, something has underperformed, so it'll probably keep on underperforming. There is something, that you do look for relative strength and things like that is true, right? But sometimes when it gets to a certain point, I see this over and over again, whenever something gets like punished and you're finding some really, really key support here, like you bounce off the bonus support band, like you found support here at the 0.786, whenever you have something that happened, grab liquidity down below, when you have the next kind of test again, a little bit of a flush, usually these assets that gets flushed down already may not get flushed down that much. So I think that IWM might actually hold out just okay. If anything, the last few weeks volume has kind of been a little bit up and up, right? So I think this is a big reaccumulation zone. A lot of people are probably buying a dip behind the scenes. So I don't think it necessarily has to impact IWM that much. I guess what I'm trying to say. I can see it back testing the 0.786 here, but I can still see it maybe showing a little bit of relative strength here if this is really truly, higher low that we're looking for, right? And on top of that, there's really nothing that has changed for me. Like I think the 2-week chart actually looks extremely bullish because you have all these wicks down here below, right? On the monthly chart, you had a false breakdown of 0.786 and just basically reclaiming it. You can kind of clearly see what it's been doing. It got rejected here, 0.786 here for months and months and months, making people really extremely frustrated, right? And it's almost like a man. I don't want to make any weird analogies here on Saturday morning. I'm going to try to keep it PG-13 as much as I can, but it's kind of like a little bit of a lady wearing some scatterly clad outfit. They're trying to show you, they're trying to show you, they're trying to show you. Keep getting rejected, rejected, rejected. Next thing you know, like they kind of like flash you here a little bit, flash, right? And then next thing you know, they just cover it up again. So it just gets people extremely frustrated. That's what I think this whole price action is doing here. But I think the frustration is needed for things to kind of explode and for you to really have all these pent up frustration to materialize into something here, right? Because overall the bull trend is still intact. You have a katana here on the monthly. I think it's still going to end up being extremely powerful whenever it ends up playing out. It's currently playing out right now. The Tenkan and Kijun are expanding, right? And the Tenkan continues to serve as support. This bull market here is a lot healthier than the last bull market. Like the last bull market didn't even really bother touching the Tenkan. Like Tenkan was that I had liquidity. Oh, the liquidity is going to run out soon. They're going to do quantitative tightening soon. Let's just boom, just run it way up, right? And the next thing you just flush it way down. So I don't think that that was a typical cycle here. I think that the typical cycle is more like this one over here from 2016, 2018, where it kind of touches the Tenkan on the way up, extremely healthy price action, or 2012 all the way to 2015 here, where it just kind of touches the Tenkan here. I think we experiencing very similar frustration that we experienced over here around 2012, 2013, right? So actually, I think it's setting up for something beautiful, probably, right? And you initially have like, oh, I broke out about the 0.76 here. I'm gonna go back test already. Nope, actually plummet all the way back down here to 0.5. Got closer to Tenkan here again. Are we pushing through 0.786? Yeah. Nope, gonna have a little bit of a wick down here and touch the 0.618 here again. Once we form such a strong base over here, it just shot up for like 2 years, right? It just shot up for 2 years, left a gap over here around 80 some dollars that still hasn't been filled, right? So I just want to kind of bring that into perspective here. This whole base forming here and how frustrated people are feeling is actually a good thing to me. You know, there's like a guy on X called Chris. He's probably gonna listen to this and like, you call me out, man. He's so frustrated. His stuff is he is so frustrated, and it's just like I find him to be very fun to read because like yeah. Anyway, that's kind of what I thought about the indexes. To be completely honest, I don't have like a whole lot of other thoughts here on that. I'd also think that Art Fund has been extremely bullish because you can see that how it just wants to keep going up. It wants to keep expanding the monthly Bollinger Band here. It's just reclaimed the 0.382 and it just back tested it. It looks like it wants to go higher. It looks like it wants to challenge 0.5 here next, right? And if you're talking about speculative stocks just making like a parabolic move up like this, how can I be that bearish on the market right now? I don't know what's going to happen next week because it looks like ARK Fund is basically doing what the indexes are doing, except that you know it's looking a lot more bullish here, showing relative strength here. So how can I be that bearish, right? But it does look like this whole trend up over here that doesn't have as many gap ups as the S&P 500. Maybe a little tiny gap down here around like 59 or so is happening on decreasing volume. So there is a little bit of a concern here to think about. But like honestly, I don't really care about that all that much. Just look at how bullish things are developing here, you know, even for ARK Fund. So DXY, a lot of people pay attention to DXY. Why do people pay attention to DXY? It usually is whenever things just get overextended. It was going to correct anyway. That's when people pay a lot of attention to that. I have so many people commenting on me like on this, just like I have so many people commenting on all kinds of stocks. Whenever they ask me, whenever they keep on asking me almost on a weekly basis on something, it's either they like get really frustrated and they get really obsessed, like Nick Garcia on X asking me about Shiba every day, or they just find something to be like shot extremely higher and they're just wondering whether or not they should get out or whether or not they should get it. DXY, yeah, it's a microphone here. It worked out pretty well, didn't it? I think I drew that here sometime like last week or two. Seemed like it got rejected here, that trend line. Probably down because the trend looks like it's down. It's been forming a little bit of exhaustive top pattern here with a very, very nice trident top here. It looks like it's just want to consolidate over here. It's probably going to end up going down, but who knows? Who knows? I have no idea. Good morning, BN. Welcome, welcome. But yeah, I just think that US dollar fear is probably a little bit overblown here. And I do want to talk about one thing. I do want to talk about one thing here. I think that um, there is maybe going to be a little bit of a relative weakness here on the semiconductor space here. Reason why is because I think the news for the semiconductor space has been good, which is also like a big part of the reason why I'm cautious on the semiconductor space here. Let me see if the scan here is drawn correctly. Yep, 721 here on the monthly. Because you have like these bullish news that are coming out, and there's a guy that talks with me behind the scenes, and we're not Danny, not Matt, not Trackers or somebody else. Yes, I'm cheating on you guys. I'm sorry, but there's a guy that I've been talking behind the scene here. Just kind of wondering, we're a little bit scared on semiconductor space here, based on the kind of things you're looking at, volume and things like that. And it's just been showing relative weakness, right? This is the SMH ETF, which is the market weighted semiconductor fund. And you can see how this GAN here has been showing some pretty decent market symmetry from ARK to ARK to ARK to ARK, right? And right now here, we're hitting this ARK over here. And guess what? We're having a hard time breaking out of this ARK, right? Well, the longer you consolidate, the more powerful the move is going to be. True. So do I feel bearish about the semiconductor space on a higher time frame such as this? No, I'm not. I think it already backtests a lot of things that I had to backtest, like kind of come back down here. Actually, See, now I'm curious about where the 2.272 is located. Yeah, okay, good. So the whole thing about the whole semiconductor stock has just been going sideways here for about 8 months, right? Getting a lot of people really frustrated. NVIDIA has done nothing for about 8 months. You got AMD has just been going down for the entire year of 2024. You've got some other stocks like ASML, which is also like on a little bit of a downtrend. You also have like MU, which was on a little bit of a downtrend. All these stocks haven't really done anything much except for recently this month, right? And now I think that people are probably starting to get a little bit more leverage. Or like, oh, this is it, so they might end up flushing you again right at resistance. They might end up just flushing you again. Maybe coming back down to 2.272 here. I don't know. I think that's part of the reason why I think the indexes might have a flush down because of that. Welcome, Matt. Because of that. Now, on top of that, if it's able to break above the resistance, if it doesn't come back down and back to the 2.272, it's also going to hit the 2.618 right up here, which it got rejected over here. So it's just a lot of more resistance zone over here. It just gets me a little bit more worried about semiconductors space here. I still have a lot of exposure to it, but I am just kind of wondering whether or not they're starting to do a little bit more distribution. I think even if they do distribution, they could continue to kind of pump up the semiconductor space to push through to the next level and then maybe back test, right? To give you like a little bit of like a final like up over the next like 6 to 12 months to really distribute all the semiconductor stuff to you, and then a real downtrend happens. I don't know yet, but I'm just getting a little bit more cautious here because it does look like the trend for semiconductors are a little bit more exhausted here. I think Nvidia is a little bit more of a late cycle kind of thing. Even Nvidia has just been keep getting rejected here 2.272 FIP, right? It did break above the ARK here, which makes me think that there might be another leg up all the way to like 350 or something like that. But it's just it's at resistance. So I just want people to be a little bit more cautious here. Don't get liquidated in case if they decide to do something crazy, like flush it all the way back down to like the one teens until they see that, right? Back test the arc here again before the next lick up. I just want to be a little bit more cautious here. One other thing is like late cycle behavior because we already had the big giant Bollinger Band expansion, right? The big move has already happened. The 10x has already happened. The Bollinger Band expansion has already happened. Now you have Bollinger Band contraction here. This is usually late cycle behavior, right? Bollinger Band expansion, early cycle, Bollinger Band contraction, late cycle, expansion, contraction, expansion, contraction, right? So I still think that it hasn't sufficiently gotten back too close for me to think that the cycle is over, but it's showing some relative weakness. I do wonder whether or not the wells is starting to distribute on the way up here. So what I mean by late cycle, I'm going to show you. So what's early cycle? Early cycle is Tesla, right? The Bollinger Band is just starting to kind of expand here. Doesn't mean there's not going to be any volatility. No, there could still very much be volatility and could still scare a lot of people. But it's early cycle. Where's mid cycle? Well, mid cycle is Palantir already had the full Bollinger Band expansion here to the downside, right, and to the upside. And you look like the upper Bollinger Band continues to want to expand to the upside here too. Right. So those are what I meant by like early cycle. You haven't had the full Bollinger Band expansion here for Tesla quite just yet. And while I'm at Tesla, I might as well just talk about Tesla here. Hi, Nicholas. Welcome. While I'm on Tesla, I might as well just kind of talk about Tesla here. What do I think? Well, I think this might be the beginning of the third really bullish cycle for Tesla. I've always thought that this right here may be like wave one all the way from like the beginning to like up here. I think this might be like wave one of the Elliott wave. I think this is wave two. I think this big giant a bull trend to be remembered for Tesla. I think that's wave three. I think this whole thing right here is wave four. And I think that this is wave five. I think this is wave one of five. And I think this little thing right here is wave five. Wave five can also keep going up a lot higher to the thousands. I think it's entirely possible. And wave five might be shorter than wave three. So I don't think that there's going to be that big of a gain. Like went for how high did it go? It went for like almost like a 40x. I don't think it's going to happen. I think we might end up going maybe like 10x or maybe, or maybe a little bit higher. I don't think it's going to be like 40x like it is over here. But I do think something more impulsive is happening here with Tesla. I don't really have any major concern here. I do think that a lot of people got really scared earlier in the month, whenever it was just way outside the upper Bollinger Band here, right? It got close to $500, and it was just unsustainable. You had to wait for the monthly Bollinger Band to expand, and guess what? Like, it went from 500 and came all the way down to like how low did it get? Like 370s, right? Got a lot of people all scared because the price just dropped, like plummeted 30% within like a couple of weeks, you know. But it's still a bull trend. Like, that's what I'm saying. If you look at everything in lock, which I do, I'm not particularly concerned about any like 20-30% drawdown, especially when I was accumulating Tesla down here and my cost average is less than 200. I really don't give a crap about any of these volatility here. Now, if you're looking at a lower time frame, should you be concerned about Tesla? Probably not, but I can totally see them come back down to the 380s or maybe even a little bit lower to grab liquidity before going up higher, just because a lot of people got really bullish over here, and it probably is time to punish you here a little bit, go sideways over here a little bit. So how long have we gone sideways here so far? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks, right? Let's look at a previous bull cycle. I mean, this bull cycle, the last one may not be a fair one to assess because, Fed, whatever, money printing, whatever. How many weeks do we have here going sideways? About 7 weeks, right? How many weeks have we gone sideways here? Oh, a lot longer with COVID and all that. It took about 2 or 3 months to kind of go up, right? How long did we end up consolidating sideways here? About 5 weeks. How long did we end up consolidating sideways over here? About 2 or 3 months, right? So I think we can consolidate anywhere from now to like 5 to 7 weeks, all the way to maybe like 2 or 3 months. I think it's entirely possible. The bull trend before that, the consolidation over here, it didn't really. I mean, it just kind of shot way up, right? And it consolidated over here for a few weeks, and then that's it. Over here, it consolidated sideways over here for about 2 or 3 months before shot up and make the final higher high. Well, not final higher high because you actually have a little bit higher high here, but you see how the trend's just completely exhausted. Here on a weekly, right? Would say that this could be it, or if they end up wanting to kind of flush down further to make people more scared, if they want to flush down all the way down here to 330, that would make people scared. That would really make people scared, and that would make me want to maybe buy more Tesla. I'm not interested in buying Tesla at this time. I don't care how low it goes. I don't care how it went all the way down to like 370s. I'm just not interested in buying up here, right? Because I was interested in buying down here. But if it decides to do something sinister, and if the sentiment is just absolutely horrible, whenever it makes such a higher low to the point that it just resets sentiment to that point. Good morning, Meow. To reset sentiment to this point. For those people who are listening and recording, like, who are you talking to? I'm on YouTube. I'm doing a live stream. I'm saying hi to people as they're rolling in. So if you want to, you should also listen to this live on YouTube as well. But if it ends up coming back down and like that punishing all the way down to like 330, and people get absolutely upset, I'm not gonna calm you down. I'm not gonna yell at you. I'm not gonna care about any of that. I'm just gonna buy. I'm just gonna try to buy it. Do I have a lot of cash? Heck no, I don't have a lot of cash. I bought a lot of things back in like October, and I'm still cash poor right now. But am I willing to like rotate some of my semiconductor stuff into Tesla? Heck yeah. Like that's kind of what I'm talking about here. So that would probably be as low as I think things would go. But I still think currently it's just a little bit of a back test here of the previous all-time high. I still don't think that it's really that scary, and I'm still open to the scenario that it did close the week underneath the Tenkan here a little bit. Tenkan is 407.56. We did end up closing underneath that here a little bit, so we might end up going down further. This is a Marubazu candle. There's not much of a wick here, so we might end up opening next week a little bit further because of that. Though, how much further does it have to go? Not much, maybe, or maybe a lot. Who knows? But I am still bullish on the Tesla formation. This is a tweezer top here, and this is a tweezer bottom. If I look at the 2-week chart, it really looks very nice, right? It could probably all the way down here to 350, right? Is what I'm seeing here on the 2-week chart. There's a support level here. It's not 250, 350, right? Rejection candle, very nice tweezer bottom here, very nice demand. This could be it, or it could come down a little bit further, and that could be it. So we'll see what happens next couple weeks or so. I have a feeling they might try to scare us, but that's kind of what I'm seeing here on the Superichi. It tells like this is so bullish here on the weekly. On Superichi, it basically backtested the kitchen down here, and right now it's reclaimed the tank. And this is basically what happens during a bull flag. You come back, sometimes backtest the kitchen, sometimes you backtest the tank, and this is what a bull flag does, right? So basically, Tesla's forming one of these bull flags here. Am I concerned? Probably not. Look at how beautifully it backtest the kitchen down here for like 3 weeks in a row, right? So yeah, I don't know why people are scared. I think people are scared because it's done nothing and it's like way up in space, and a lot of people are spreading FUD and all that. I think Tesla earnings coming up next too. I don't remember exactly when that's going to be, but I think Tesla earning is coming up, so it's going to get a lot of people more scared. Um, I don't play earnings. I don't have any predictions here. I just kind of told you the downside risk here in terms of earnings, and I still think this is a bullish formation. So my primary case is probably bullish continuation. I do think that next week might end up being a little bit more down here because you have a Malabasu candle over here that is a red candle, but it could be a little bit down, kind of like how it's a little bit down from here going down, and it's just a big giant green candle. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen, right? All I know is on the monthly, there's nothing to really get scared because all it did right now is to a little bit went a little bit way too far, way too fast, and it came back test the upper Bollinger Band here. The upper Bollinger on the monthly is 379.4, right? So as long as we're above it, it's still a very, very parabolic move on the way up. Rinsler, welcome. So as far as I'm concerned, I don't really have that much concern about Tesla. I really don't, and I just kind of lay down the short-term scenario, 350, 330, still bullish if it happens. I'm not sure if it will happen. I'll probably buy that area if it happens. But I can also see it just kind of consolidating sideways, maybe come back down to like 370s, 380s again before further bullish continuation, in the months moving forward. So that's my thought on that. A quick thought on Palantir. This stock has gotten me so bored here. The only thing that has really gotten me less bored is that there's a guy called a long investor. I don't know why like Danny keeps sending me his posts. I don't follow the long investor. I just Danny likes to send me these posts all the time on messages like, hey, look, maybe this is a contrarian signal. And, like, this guy is just extremely bearish. Hey, Margin Cole, welcome. Yeah, we're talking about JASMY, no problem. Yeah. This guy is just like extremely bearish on Palantir. I'm just like, why are you so bearish on Palantir? It's like, and I probably made too many sassy posts, and somebody's like, hey, can you like stop being sarcastic and like post real analysis? I'm like, okay, fine. But it's probably just like sassy because the guy was sassy. It's like he broke up with his ex, and the ex is doing really well, and he's being really bitter about it. Like I don't know what else to say about that. The trend is really bullish. There's really nothing that I'm necessarily scared about Palantir. Like it looks like it's just kind of want to keep expanding its bullish band to the upside and downside. Are you going to have these crazy volatility whenever you have a monthly candle back in December way outside the upper bullish band? Heck yeah, you're going to have bullish band traders that are going to try to sell and fade you. And then you're going to have market makers trying to test demand back inside a Bollinger Band here. And they found demand. Right now, you're still outside a Bollinger Band. But this impulsive price action is going to keep pulling the Bollinger Band to the upside and the downside. Again, I'm not saying that, it's always the downside here, by the way. Like, it's still to the negative. I think as long as it's still expanding, I don't think the bull trend is over, right? So anybody who says anything else, I think are following PE metrics saying how overvalued something is during a bull market a good idea? I don't know. I just don't know. Here, let me take a sip of tea here for just a second. Yeah, but a lot of people have like broken out with their stocks and being extremely bitter about it. That actually makes me, feel more comfortable and sleep well at night with Palantir. And yeah, Jim Cramer is bullish on it, but so what? Like he was, like I think Jim Cramer at this point, like he gets it right about like 30-40% of the time, gets it wrong about 60-70% of the time. So if he's riding the train on this, then great. I mean, at some point, he also said that it wasn't a real company when price is like all the way down in the 20s. So like, I'm not gonna listen to a clown. Like, I just don't care. Um, like it's neither a contrarian signal or a supportive signal. It's not even a signal. Like Jim Cramer is funny. That's what he is. Yeah, I don't have much else on Palantir. I mean, I can do all that. I did draw again here, and again, it was done on 720 and 5, and it does have a pretty decent market symmetry here, where this arc and horizontal is well respected here, right? This angle is also well respected here. And this arc up here is also well respected here, and we're pushing through into this arc here. We backtest the bottom of the arc, right? This GAN was favored. I had a different GAN, but this GAN here was favored by the Great Masby, right? If you guys don't follow Great Masby, follow the guy. All right, follow the guy. He has a pretty strong impact in terms of my thinking too. So follow the guy. But right now, it looks like we closed the week back above this horizontal line over here. I think it's going to grab it up here to the top of the arc, and I think we might have a little bit of a hard time maybe trying to push for the top of the arc. But who knows? We didn't really have a hard time over here, so who knows, right? Because solid sideways over here enough between the arc and the horizontal here for weeks, got everybody all scared, right? So maybe we're ready to kind of go up here after forming a higher low over here. I don't know. Maybe it decided to flush down lower and back to start down here again around the 60s, low 60s. Oh no, right? I mean, but this is still a parabolic uptrend regardless, even if that happens, and that would still be a higher low for the greatest scheme of things, right? So, do I think that one of these flush over here, like August 2024, has to happen? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. So yeah, those are kind of cases I'm kind of laying out here for, right? If you are also looking at FIB levels here, I can do it real quick. And I think at this point, this is done on linear fib. It backtests to the backtest on 1.618 here already. Does it have to backtest it again or punch through again? No, not necessarily. The 1.618 is a pretty important fib level, right? So I think next level is trying to grab it to 2.272, like $94.71. And then after that, $108.23. And after that, some higher targets here on the linear. But Bollinger Band tells me it's not done yet, right? It could hit the lock fib here at 1.618, and I know some people like the Great Masby is gonna end up taking profits up there. I know he's gonna do that. Doesn't mean that the trend's over. Doesn't mean that it's not gonna hit 600 up here. I don't know. You have an arc over here to around 300. That's also going to be some pretty strong resistance. So I don't necessarily think that it's going to be like Bitcoin cycle from 2015, 2017. You just push all the way up here. I don't think it's necessarily going to have to do that. And I do see a lot of people taking a lot of profits here around 150 and 300, which is also part of the reason why I think it might end up potentially going higher than that. Anyway, those are my initial thoughts and margin call. I'm going to jot down TEM here. Yeah, it's a part of your request. And Nicholas, you found a bullish boy. I'll take a look at Whirlpool. Sure. Yeah. So remind me if I haven't. He's always he's always overstimulated. Sandro. Sandro, yeah, I don't know. He actually does really good work. I actually really like the long investor in terms of some of the chart. Like he's bullish on HIMS, he's bullish on Tesla. I don't follow his stuff. Like I know that because like Danny keeps on sending me his posts. So I don't know. It's just sometimes he speaks a little bit more into like absolutes, and I don't really like that. But anyway, he's good. Like his stuff is really good. I can see why he has like a bunch of paid followers who pays him like 40 or 50 bucks a month to get the info. Um, he's pretty good. Anyway, yeah, that's Palantir for me. Let's do some chart requests here. I think I've talked long enough for these monologue here. One that was asked for me offline here is chat. This is Roundhill Generative AI Technology ETF. Have not looked at this at all. It looks like it just wants to keep going up. Are we concerned here? Well, I mean, I don't even know where to draw the fit level. Should I draw it from up here, from July to August, and see where we are? Maybe, right? If you do that, are we at an important fit resistance level? Yeah, 1.4 and 4. Are we breaking that? Yeah. So I I don't know. Should I draw it down here? You know, and are we hitting any like important fit levels here? Not really, right? So should I draw again here? I don't know. Let's see. I'm gonna try to see because whenever so the way I really usually look at chart is like the chart looks like it's really just keep going up like that. A lot of these stuff that I look at like Ichimoku won't work for this because things are already kind of just like way out, right? Bollinger Band may or may not work. It may or may not give me some additional information. If it's just way outside the upper Bollinger Band, then yeah, like I'm it's going to be um, not going to be very informative here if I look at it, you know. But if it's going to be just parabolic here and Bollinger Band is just expanding, I'm going to show you here what I meant by that. Like this is the monthly chart here. We fill the Bollinger Band. It's just barely started. You know, I don't have any information here at all. Upper Bollinger Band continues to expand to the upside though, because it's only been like 20 candles here. So there's really not much I can chart here. Ichimoku, I only got the Tenkan. There's nothing to chart here. If I look at the weekly here, look at the Bollinger Support Band here. Yeah, it's bouncing on the Bollinger Support Band. Looks like it wants to go higher. Are we a little bit extended? Yeah. You look at Ichimoku, it's not going to tell you much, right? Already back to the Tenkan, it's kind of going up here a lot higher. If I look at the RSI, are we seeing any bearish diversions? Yeah, we did here, right? Which is why it plummeted all the way down here around August here. This is like the same story that I've seen in Robinhood, right? Things gone up on bearish diversions here. If it decided to flush down, and next thing you know, things just kind of going a lot higher on further bullish diversions. And right now you broke the bearish diversions here very clearly, even backtest the bearish trend line here. So that's why things are looking a lot more bullish here for this stock, right? So I'm not really that scared about any potential bearish diversions anymore. So I did again here real quick. What did I do this on here on the weekly? 360 and 0.5. Does it give me decent market symmetry? Yeah. Do I have a lot of price history here to kind of go by? Not really. Could it come back and back test the arc down here in the low 40s before going up to the next arc? Yeah, it's possible, right? If I change this to 0.2, you can see how it's giving me a little bit of different market symmetry here, right? Still a very nice market symmetry. It's range bound between these two arcs, and then push through the next arc here. Looks like it wants to challenge the arc up here, but can it go back down to like the low 40s and backtest the arc and backtest the angle here? Is possible, right? If I do 0.1 here, yeah, it's broken through the arc here. We haven't really had the back test yet, right? Could we come back and back test the lower part of the arc here around the low 40s? Yeah, it's possible, but all sign points towards higher highs, higher lows. I'm not really worried about the bearish divergence. It's probably going to hit the arc up here above whichever path it takes. And I'm seeing enough support levels down here, including the Bollinger Support Band. If things goes to crap, it can all the way come back down to 40, and you'll still find support. You have support a lot further down, right? So, but you're at a pretty decent support level here. So I think price probably end up having some volatility here before going up. I don't think necessarily has to come flush all the way back down here to the mid 30s. That's my thought on this. TM, let's look at this here real quick. Yeah, you're the guy that keeps on requesting this. Gap up here. Uh-oh. Are we scared? Well, I don't know. This is this is the Nancy Pelosi special, right? This is a Nancy Pelosi special. On the weekly here is reclaiming the 20-week moving average, but it's still a little bit trendless here for me with a gap underneath. So I don't have much here on the monthly. There's nothing to chart on the monthly. On the weekly here, looks like it's trying to push through the mean here, but it's still a little bit trendless for me. So I don't really know what to make of it. If you look at the daily looks like it clearly wants to have a little bit of a trend change here, but you also see a little bit of a exhaustion here on this trend on the way up, right? You see how the Bollinger Band is still expanding, but it's like a little bit getting a little bit exhausted here. So I don't know. I see something very similar here as I do some like over here. So it's not crazy expanding like it is over here anymore. It's starting to get a little bit tired here. So I don't know about this. I don't know what Nancy Pelosi has in her mind. It's also on the daily chart here. There are two things. It's stuck in a range. Right? It has a katana. So I think it's going to end up being pretty bullish and push through the cloud and go higher. But it's also stuck underneath and got rejected here, the cloud, right? So in the short term, it could come back down before going up on the daily here. It's kind of what I'm seeing here. If this katana works out well, great. But you also have a katana here that didn't really kind of work out, and things got a little bit exhausted up here, right? Here you weren't even having any cloud rejection; it was just kind of in space. Here you're hitting the cloud, so be a little bit more cautious whenever you look a little bit exhausted. Come back to the cloud and then plummeting down here in this particular case, but over here a little bit exhausted. You reject over the cloud, you might come back to the Tenkan kitchen here. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Again, none of this is like absolute, right? But I just think that maybe it wants to kind of retrace back to the mean here a little bit. So we'll see. I'm still more cautious than I'm not when it comes to a stock like that. If I do a little bit of a fit level, you can see how it is getting close to 1.414 here again, right? You can also see how it did break through this trend line. So if it comes back and back tests the trend line here, that would not be the end of the world, right? So that's kind of how I'm thinking about this. So I don't find the risk reward ratio here to be good enough for me to enter because of those various reasons. So BRETT, a degen meme coin. Okay, I'm gonna get to crypto here after I do a few chart requests here. That GAN analysis is on fire. Thank you very much for saying that again. If you want to do a little bit more GAN stuff, you can follow the Great Masby. He's got some pretty good stuff. Just search for Great Masby. The name's kind of lame, but the charts are not. So I'll also take it. Yeah, so if I have time, I might also take a look at maybe EOSE. I think I haven't looked at that yet. I can take a look at EOSE here for yellow gains and kind of take it from there. So far, let's look at WHR here. Whirlpool. Yeah, this thing looks nice, but it does look a little bit exhausted here. All right, so what do we do for something like Whirlpool? Looks like it's trying to buck a trend here, right? It's trying to turn the 20 from negative sloping to positive sloping. It looks like it's doing a great job. And it looks like it wants to gravitate up here towards the upper Bollinger Band here, around 146, 147 or so. That's probably where the next logical destination for Whirlpool is going to be at. If you also look at the Ichimoku, you can also see that let me see. You also see that you have even a higher target up here at 160, which is going to be the cloud, right? So I think that there's some further room for Whirlpool to kind of go up here. And the weekly Bollinger Band can tell me whether or not we're getting a little bit overextended. The answer is yes, we are. I generally don't like it when things are overextended and close the week way outside the upper Bollinger Band. That's usually asking for punishment if you buy here in the short term. Never an absolute thing, but sometimes if you end up, let's say if you're like, oh, this is going to be a downtrend, I'm so scared, so I end up selling here, right? That's probably the wrong decision to sell right outside the upper Bollinger Band, like way far outside the lower Bollinger Band, sorry. Because you generally have a little bit of retracement to the mean whenever you have something like that. And it doesn't always work out that way because sometimes you sell down here, you're like, terrible, it's gonna have another lick down. And it didn't really bounce back to the mean here. But like over here, if you buy here, you're probably just asking for a little bit of punishment here because it could retrace back down a lot with like 8 or 10%. And for a dividend, paying stocks that are like just like a non-core stock like this, it could be extremely punishing, right? Yeah, just be a little bit careful in the short term. Long term, oh yeah, heck yeah, like 140s, 160s. It's probably where the next target is going to go. I don't have any, problems here with Whirlpool. It looks like it wants to break above the 0.382, but maybe we end up closing a month underneath of that, right? Because it's really the first time we're challenging back the zone over here after we flip this from support and now it's resistance. So I'm not sure whether or not we're just gonna push through that on the first try. I guess my point is this: short term, be cautious. Long term is looking a lot better. Next is EOSE, and I'm going to talk about the crypto stuff here, and I'll also add TIGR here on my things to do. I looked at the DXY honestly, because there's not much to look at. Like it's basically I drew this microphone here whenever it was like looking like it just wants to keep going higher, and it got rejected right there, right? So this is still a very nice tree to the top here. So if you, I do timestamps here later. I did talk a little bit about this earlier, but I'm going to go back to USC here. It's a pretty incredible chart because it got a little bit rejected here at the 0.136 fit level here. And this month so far, we're pushing through that, right? So those are linear fibs here. If you do log fibs, you can also see how we're getting close to the next resistance level here, which is a 0.618, right? So you can also see how we're a little bit overextended on the upside here on the Bollinger Band on the monthly, right? You can also see how the low Bollinger Band continues to expand downwards. So I think USC is going to be pretty decent here moving forward. I just don't see this being like a downtrend on a higher time frame. It also make a higher high here compared to over here. Like there's really nothing bearish on a higher time frame, with the exception of a lower time frame. This is one of those things that like you're about to hit 0.618, right? And on top of that, I like to look at the RSI. On top of that, whenever price goes up higher, it could keep on going up higher on bearish diversions, right? So, it was just a little bit, worry whenever you're getting close to a pretty strong resistance level here. So, would it be punishing for you to buy this in the short term? Possibly. Would it be rewarding if you're okay with any potential volatility that could come your way, including coming back and backtest the more support band, also backtest a breakout zone over here like 3.6. I don't think it has to go all the way back down there, but if it ends up doing that, would that be fine? Yeah, it's fine. Would it be fine if it comes back and at least backtest the tank in here around like the high fours and low fives here before going further? Yeah, the kitchen also is rising up here to 4.4. Would it be the end of the world to come back and touch the 4.4 zone again before going up? No, it would not be the end of the world. It actually is still very, very bullish, right? But you have to kind of take things into consideration, into context here. I think that it probably would end up going up to the 0.618 here around $7. We have to see how it reacts. If it pushes through like butter, great. If it pushes through like butter, great. It's going to be getting close to the monthly immature cloud over here too, right? So you're getting a little bit closer to resistance. But longer term, I'm pretty bullish on this because you also have a monthly katana here that's being built up. So longer term, I'm going to be very bullish, but just know that you can have these crazy 20-30% drawdown because things are a little bit overextended here on the monthly, right? And we're getting close to resistance level here. So you can have a 20-30% drawdown and it could still be a bullish chart, I guess is what I'm thinking about the USC chart here. TIGR, I have this. I'm probably gonna make a video maybe a little bit later. I don't know. But it looks like it wants to break about the 0.382 here after getting rejected here 3 times, right? Like St. Peter got rejected, his mentor 3 times, and then he started a church after that, right? So I don't know whether or not we're kind of hitting a very similar scenario here where things are actually looking on up and up, because the Bollinger Band is also expanded by the time when last time when they tried to push through to 0.618, the Bollinger Band is just not expanded. It was just way too far, way too fast, and it just had to kind of come back and follow gravity. Right now, it's finally expanded Bollinger Band. It looks like it wants to keep going up, and as long as the Bollinger Band continue to expand, I think that you have a great chance to re-challenge 0.618 here again. I think the cycle is probably going to hit at least the 0.786, so that's still a lot of gains from here. And I don't know what's going to happen. I think it's going to be a very bullish chart over the next 6 to 12 months. So that's why I'm still buying here at the sevens. I'm still buying it here at the sevens. I did end up rebalancing some semiconductor stocks to this on Friday. For my members, they know this, because I made a video, also made like a subscriber post here on Friday. Tell them that, hey, I'm reallocating about 10 or 15% of my semiconductor exposure. I'm going to buy a few things here. So TIGR is one of those I ended up rebalancing to, because I think the chart is actually looking pretty decent. Even on a weekly, it looks like it's been also around 0.382 here, but it's probably reclaimed it, throughout the entire process. It's also backtested below support band here very nicely. Throughout the entire process, it's also trying to reclaim the Tenkan here very nicely. On the 2-week chart, let's see. Yeah, there's really nothing that I'm really. Let me see about the Super Ichi. Yeah, I think it still needs to break about the Super Ichi here. Maybe that's also another reason why it's been consolidating sideways here. But just look at how nicely this candle formation is, right? You have a little bit of rising 3 pattern here, right? First of all, like, this is kind of a little bit like an inside candle here compared to this big giant green candle. All of these are inside candles over here besides this one here, of this big giant green candle over here. It favors bullish continuation. This whole thing's here, as far as I'm concerned, is still a bull flag. This over here it basically also engulfs these 3 candles over here, right? And we have a very nice dragonfly candle here over the last 2-week period. So this candle over here is going to close not this week, but the week after, right? It's like the end of next week, right? But so far you have like a lot of really decent wicks down here. So I like TIGR. I like TIGR. That's one of those that I'm gonna continue to be in. If you want exposure to crypto space or first time a portfolio, coin, XRP, or ETH, update on QS. I'll talk about all that as well. I'll save the altcoins here in a little bit. I would say coin probably. The reason why I say that is because the chart looks safer to me than anything else, right? And I think that this is more of a reflection of the others chart than anything else, So if I have to spread the field and get exposure to crypto, and a lot of big institutions are using coins, so I don't think it's gonna like go under like it was for a few exchanges a couple of years ago. I don't think it's gonna happen. They also don't really do like any of the like over leveraged stuff. So I think Coinbase is gonna be fine. I think Coinbase just backtest the ARK here, 0.786, and also backtest the bonus report band. I think it's ready to run. Like, I find Coinbase to be extremely bullish chart here in the longer term. So if you want exposure, not financial advice, but that's how I've been playing it. It's just when unsure, I have some extra money I want to allocate to. I'm not sure where to put it, and I want exposure to the crypto space. I buy Coinbase. Now, XRP has a little bit of a overextension problem. I don't like to chase. It can go up a lot higher, but I just don't like to chase. So, but I think it will probably go up and break like the curve resistance. I'm going to talk about XRP here in a little bit. So, so that's a little bit more like putting egg in one basket. ETH is building up a lot of energy. I think it's probably going to push up. But if ETH does well, then Coinbase is probably also going to do extremely well too. Yeah, I don't know. Like to me, I'm not buying ETH anymore because I already have like a big position. Like my ETH position is probably like 2 or 3 times bigger than my Coinbase exposure. So I'm not going to buy more ETH. But if you want to spread your basket amongst all three, you can. I probably favor at this point of the cycle. I probably favor buying Coin or ETH over XRP if I don't have any exposure. But if you want to get a little bit into XRP, right, resistance is just know that it's at resistance, but I think it's probably going to go up higher over time. So uh, let me see there. Yeah, I know. We don't need four. We will not need four more times. Yeah, that is true, Mark. how how all these people know these like Chinese references? Anyway, QS. I'm still allocating money into QS every week. I'm like nibbling on QS. If you look at the Bollinger Band, it gives you a pretty good story here. Like every time when you have a Bollinger Band squeeze here on the weekly, you have a little bit of a pump, right? You have a little bit of pump. You have a little bit of pump. You have a little bit of pump here, but the Bollinger Band is still squeezing here. It's very interesting, right? I think that if I am going to look at the weekly moving averages, and I've been doing this for a very long time, because QS has been doing it for a very long time. I look at the 20, the 20 which is orange, 50 which is blue, and 100 week which is black, right? And if I look at all this, I can see how they're just getting closer and closer together. They've been rejecting price respectively for almost 3 or 4 years now. Yeah. They're getting closer and closer together. And you don't really even have to look at this. Like a lot of times, the reason why I look at like the 20-month moving average is because that already captured the essence in terms of what's going on. Right? This is the Bollinger Band, so the center curve over here is going to be the 20-month moving average, and you can see how it just kind of got rejected here multiple times. Like it's doing a lot more St. Peter. Like if you thought St. Peter is bad, look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? Rejected 6 times. If it like the 20-month moving average thinks it's like a hot chick or something, or like Ricky Martin when he was like really hot back in the days, just keeps on rejecting all these girls. Now we know why he was rejecting all these girls, but it's just been rejection after rejection after rejection after rejection as the 20-month moving average continued to kind of flatten, right? So the way I see it is probably a pretty decent risk reward ratio to buy here. And another reason why I say that is also because I really think that it's forming a big base, right? It just looks like a big giant rounded bottom, and it could be dead money for months, right? But I just like the setup. Like this is one thing that I buy because I I and I buy slowly. Like this is not one of those that I feel like I'm in a hurry I have to buy because a bull trend's happening, can break out anytime. I'm not feeling this here at QS. I don't care. I can keep buying for like a whole year. I don't care. 6 inside candles to this candle over here, right? 6 inside candles to this candle over here. Recently, have like a couple big volume candles over here too. Still less volume than that, right? But you have all these wicks down here below. It's something interesting is brewing over here. I think there's some increased interest here, but you also have like these 6 inside candles over here. So I think whenever it ends up blowing up, it can blow up pretty hard. And it could not happen until like 2026, and I don't really care. But I'm just kind of looking at this. I'm just like, okay, I'll buy slowly. I don't care. Let's just see where it takes us. Because I see a big giant round bottom. I got a few altcoin requests here. So the first one was I'm going to go back to Mesa here, and I'm going to talk about Dogecoin, JASMY, XRP, Brett, and talk about Bitcoin after that. First of all, let's talk about Doge, right? You guys know how I love Doge, and how I've just been allocating money into Doge, and I have a Gantt chart here for Doge. If January is not the breakout month, could February be it? Yeah, and if February isn't the month to do it, then I think March could be it. If March isn't the month to do it, then I think April could be it. If April isn't the month to do it, then I think May could be it. But But do I think we're consolidated sideways enough at support? Yes, I do think so, right? Um, I still think that we're very similar juncture over here as we over here. I think the cycle is just a lot longer, but it's just basically trying to break through a confluent resistance zone over here, including the angle, right? Including a 0.786, which I'm going to show you here in a little bit. But I think we're very, very similar juncture. We're just kind of stuck in a range here. Last time we were stuck in a range for about 4 weeks. Now we're stuck in a range for about like almost 10 weeks now. Okay. Getting everybody bored. Who wants to buy Doge? Not many. I bought some last week. And this week I ended up buying a little bit Shiba. I ended up buying a little bit of like this really low market cap altcoin like Suku and bought a little bit Boba too. I ended up doing that. Uh, but does it mean that I'm not bullish on Doge? No. I mean, I've just been buying Doge like for almost 2 or 3 years now. So I already am happy with my Doge position. If they want to keep let me buy Doge here before it shoot up, then I'll probably keep buying some here and there. That's fine. I'm I'm okay with that, right? I know Crusher. Actually, it doesn't look bad at all. I agree with you. The Doge over BTC chart actually looks like it's just basing. Um, but yeah, like when does it happen? I don't care. If you're also looking at the fit levels, I drew this over and over again. If you're just going to be a little bit more patient here, it last cycle here it got stuck here at the arc here. Also got stuck between 0.618 and 0.76 fib, right, for weeks, right. And right now it's basically doing the same thing. If I just kind of zoom in here, it's from the cycle high up here to the cycle low down here. It's just been stuck between the 0.61 and 0.76, So yeah, are we going to have some resistance here at the previous all-time high? Maybe. Last time I didn't really care, just kind of shot way up to the next arc here. This time we do have a little bit of horizontal here, and we also have an angle here that we need to get through, right? So maybe if we end up just building a strong base here and just kind of shift through all that to the next arc, that would be nice, right? Or maybe if we end up not doing that and just kind of going sideways here a little bit longer, and then kind of go up here to like $4, $5. That's not the end of the world, right? So yeah, I don't know how long this space is going to happen. I don't think anybody does. All I know is that it's got a lot of support down here below. Is forming higher lows and higher highs, and I don't really care how long it consolidates. I just think that it has to do what it has to do to wait for liquidity to rotate from Bitcoin over to Doge. Doge is kind of waiting for permission from Bitcoin, which I'm going to talk a little bit about in terms of resistance levels, things like that, before it's just a lot higher. That's kind of where I'm seeing at. JASMY, I have JASMY. I like the JASMY chart a lot. People ask me what's going on with JASMY. It's so terrible what JASMY is doing to them. Well, it might be terrible if you end up buying here at resistance at the top of the arc up here, right? That's awful, because you've lost like about half your money if you end up doing that. But if you were to bought down here, like I did, like you really don't care about this volatility. I think that there's the eye of the tiger is up here is kind of what I'm thinking. Currently, can we go back all the way down to the arc here? Not the arc. Can we go back all the way down to the angle here and back test? Certainly possible based on market symmetry, right? But it doesn't have to because it's also holding an Ichimoku, right? It did dip down into the Ichimoku cloud here, like it did over here, but that's not the end of the world. That doesn't bother me that much. But my support band is still holding it, right? Did end up dipping down below that a little bit, but it's still holding it, right? So flipping from resistance here back into support, again, nothing really too terrible here. Whenever it's then consolidating sideways over here, whenever Bitcoin gives the permission to back test the arc up here again to try and push through, I think that higher targets up here are going to be met this cycle. And I think we're going to be feeling okay here. So do I think that JASMY is going to make an all-time high? I do not know the answer to that. It doesn't have to make an all-time high for us to potentially make a lot of gains from JASMY. So I'm not gonna like hold my breath. It's gonna say like JASMY is gonna be $17-$18. No, I'm not gonna hold my breath on that. But currently, technically speaking, I'm not really that worried, right? If I wasn't worried here in the head and shoulder pattern, I'm not worried about where it is at right now. That I call this a head and shoulder continuation pattern because of the Ichimoku cloud, and it worked out. So right now we're bouncing off the Ichimoku cloud again. I'm not worried, guys. Like I'm so not worried about this. The Bollinger Band continues to expand, on the monthly here on the upper Bollinger Band. The low Bollinger Band is contracting here a little bit because we've been selling sideways here for about a whole year. But I still think that JASMY is just consolidating, is waiting for Bitcoin's permission to go higher. That's what I'm thinking. So XRP, let's take a quick look at XRP. This is the market cap. Actually, I want to take a look at XRP USD. Would you buy XRP here? Would you buy XRP here? Right. Would you buy XRP when it's really trying to challenge the previous all-time high wake up here? The answer is I don't know. Right. No, 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 no. 99999 looking like the blank blank for blank. Okay, if I must. Crusher is really crushing XRP here. So somebody's really disliking XRP. Actually, it looked pretty decent to me here on a monthly. It looks like a little bit of a higher high here compared to that. It's done nothing though. I see what you're saying. It's done nothing against Bitcoin here. If you want to have the same amount of gain, then yeah, you should be in Bitcoin. But I think that if you, and the great Maspy is right, risk reward ratio, the lower this ratio has gone because it's just been basing off here for so long. It's just stuck in a range here. Honestly, I agree with you. I think it's just kind of stuck in a range, and right now it's kind of the top of the range. So I do see that Bitcoin going higher, XRP will go higher, and it might still be at the top of the range here. But could XRP end up outperforming Bitcoin from here on out? It already outperformed Bitcoin for the last 3 months, right? Which is why people start paying attention to it. So could it end up outperforming Bitcoin moving forward? If it breaks above the range, it can, right? It's done it before, but it doesn't. But it doesn't have to. It could still be a top range and just keep going along with Bitcoin, and it's still going to be a lot of gains for XRP, right? So something to kind of think about, but I do think that this is a bull trend, so I would not be surprised if it breaks the range and XRP actually kind of outperforming Bitcoin here a little bit over the next 6 to 12 months. It's entirely possible. But XRP by itself is at resistance, so I don't like to buy things at resistance. So I generally don't like it where it is at right now. But if you're looking at targets, though, it pushes 0.86, pushes 0.786 here like butter. Unlike last cycle where it got rejected at 0.786, right? And got rejected here again, ARK over here. This time it pushed through the ARK, so the next area is going to crowd it up to is probably going to be this next ARK up here after it pushes through the all-time high, which is going to be around like $8 or $9, which is also great Maspy's target as well. Do I think it's going to hit some of the higher targets up here, like $20, $26, $13? Possible, right? Depends on what Bitcoin does. Possible. So those are kind of my thought here. Let's look at this mystery coin here. I think I charted this before. I don't know which one has the best price history. Let me try. What do you guys know which exchange gives you like the most price history here for this coin? Gate.io, maybe a little bit more. It seems like a relatively new thing, so that's what I'm asking. BitGet. I drew on BitGet last time. Okay. So I actually have a GAN here being drawn previously. Also have some fit levels here being drawn previously here too. You're asking because price been going down a lot recently. I don't think this GAN gives me that great market symmetry. I just don't have that much price history kind of on chain coins. Yeah. So I would say this. It's doing something pretty obvious here where it got rejected here 0.786 almost perfectly. And it's just been a downtrend since then. The question, if you have, is where it's going to find support. Was way below the support bands, way underneath the Ichimoku stuff here on a weekly. So let's look at a lower time frame here, see if I see any potential sign for trend change. We do use the wave trend oscillator. I think we might be bottoming out here, kind of like we were bottoming out over here. You can call this a bear flag, but I actually see this maybe a little bit more like a bottoming out behavior. Where is it finding support at, though? Do I have any indicators to show me any support? Nope, it's underneath the Ichimoku. Let me see. Do I see anything on the block call order? It's just stuck in a range. I think there's a potential for it to come down to the 0.382 again. But it could be also kind of bottoming out here. It's hard for me to say for sure. It does still look a little bit weak. So if it didn't end up having the bullish breakdown oscillator, it could go all the way back down to 0.382. And I think that's going to be a pretty strong support here because there's apparently like some order blocks down here too for this. If I look at the Bollinger Band, that also is going to tell me, yeah, it can potentially go make another leg lower down to like the 0.382. I think it's entirely possible here in a lower time frame. Do I see enough bullish divergence here to make me think that this whole thing has bottomed here? I'm not seeing too much bullish divergence. So yeah, there's a potential for it to kind of go down here a little bit more. But even if it goes down here a little bit more, I do have to say this. Even if it goes down here a little bit more, which it certainly can, because it also broke down underneath a 20-week moving average here too. Even if it goes down a little bit more, it could still be a higher low here after a higher high, right? So just something to kind of think about. You know, the last couple of weeks, you do have a little bit increasing volume here. So there might be a little bit more downwards to go, is what I'm thinking. Now, if your question is like, okay, so if it's found its bottom, how high is it going to go? Well, you know, if this is a truly higher high, higher low situation, then we'll see what happens when it goes and challenges 0.786 again. Because if it's able to push for 0.786 here, after it's done whatever it needs to be done here, which I think it probably will, because I think altcoins are going higher from here. And I think that this has been responding pretty well with altcoins overall. So whenever altcoins go up, I think it's going to challenge 0.786. Probably going to push through that, and you might potentially hit some of the upper higher targets up here. But I just want to be a little bit more, you know, like cautious. If you're thinking this thing's just going to moon here, I don't know. Doesn't necessarily look that ready yet, but let's just hope it finds a bit of a higher low here before long, I guess. That's kind of my thoughts on this. Let's talk about the Bitcoin thing. We are about an hour and a half in, and I think I was able to address all of your chart requests here so far, right? Let me know if I haven't talked about what you requested yet, and I'm going to be gladly address them the best that I can. I like where Bitcoin is at right now because I did a chart here. I have 3 different weekly candles I'm going to show you with different market symmetries that are actually pretty decent. So the first scan here on the weekly was based on a pivot here from the cycle bottom. And the first scan here on Bitcoin can show you some pretty decent market symmetry here. Let me take a sip of tea here. You were gonna send me some flowers. Thank you. Keeping it classy. Yeah, I just don't. I'm sorry that I yelled at you guys on the Tesla chart last week on the Triumphant show. It's pretty atypical for me to do that. There's no reason to yell, but I just felt like it, I guess. This is the Gann chart here, right? Again, for Bitcoin, it looks like each of these arcs here means something, right? Each of these arcs here means something. Here was resistance, 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 and resistance, which is why I thought that whenever price got up here, everybody really just got really super bullish here around the 6-digit Bitcoin, and everybody got so psycho. I was like, it's probably going to go sideways here for a little bit. Yeah, we're going sideways here for a little bit, and right now we're really truly challenging here again. We built up enough energy down here to challenge that. We had some pretty decent support here. I'm going to show you on the other Gann chart here too. I think we're going to end up challenging this Gann arc here pretty soon. I don't think necessarily we're going to end up closing this week above this arc, but I think next week could be it. The reason why I say that is because I see a very similar signature here and here, where you are having a little bit of increasing volume here and increasing volume here. It looks like it wants to kind of break through. It looks like it wants to kind of break through. You also have the wave trend oscillator over here too. Went down, corrected sideways here, and now you're having a little bit of a bullish crosshair being built up, right? You have a bullish crosshair that's being built up on increasing volume. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Nice fractal here too. Do I think that has to go sideways here for months? No. This is very atypical for Bitcoin to have to do that. This is very atypical for Bitcoin to have to do that, where it just kind of goes sideways here for almost like 8, 9, 10 months. Very typical. If you look at previous cycle, usually this is at like 8 weeks. That's good enough time. Let's pump up. Here, about 8, 9, 10 weeks. I think it's a pretty good time. I think it's time for it to kind of pump up from here. I can look into a little bit of SOFI, BYON. What is that? Well, I guess we'll take a look at it in a little bit. But let's talk about crypto here. Finish crypto, do a couple of chart requests and call it a day. I think we're getting ready to kind of pump from here, right? Based on kind of what I'm looking at. The other weekly GAN here, I can also show you what I'm looking at here. The other weekly can really show you more the support, how this angle here was showing support. And I was talking about how I think we're getting close to the end of the line here. You have to either, by the way, this also gives you some really beautiful market symmetry here. This angle here has been excellent resistance and support zone for a very, very long time during the entire bull cycle so far. I was talking about how we're getting close to the end of the line here. It's stuck between this angle, it's stuck between this arc. It has to kind of break out one way or another. It's not to break up to the upside, right? Good. So much for the 80,000 crowd. So much for the 80,000 crowd. If you're paying money to like a technical analyst, and if they're telling you it's going to go down to 80,000 behind the scene, just so that I've been saying for free that I don't think it has to go down that far, and I've been showing you this chart here for free for a very long time. So just kind of think about where your money wants to go. But I don't want to take away money from any other influencer. I'm sorry if I end up doing that, but just think about it. Think for yourself. It's got the ARK here as support now. Can it backtest the ARK? Certainly can. It's a possibility. Do I think it has to? No, I think it looks like it's ready to kind of go up here to the top of the ARK up here, right? So go back to the last chart here. Where's the resistance levels up here, right? We got rejected up here around 107, right? I was talking about how 107 could be resistance level. And then after 107, after 107 here on the top of the ARK, then the horizontal level up here is going to be around, let me see, horizontal level up around here is going to be around 117, 500, right? So it's 117, 118, somewhere around there, right? So 107, 117, 118. Over here on the scan here, gives you a little bit of a different look here. Top of the ARK here, 114. So 114, 117, 118, and 107, right? You have a big resistance zone here. You also have some resistance up here to around 104.8, somewhere around here. And then if you break up above, 114, right? So you got 104.8, 107, 114, and 117. You have a range of resistance here. And you have the wave trend oscillator looking more favorable, right? And you also are starting to have a little bit of increasing volume over here. So pretty good setup to break through resistance, especially since you've already gotten sideways here for weeks and weeks and weeks at a time. Where do I find support at the ARK over here, right? I'm not making this up. I basically, all these GAN charts here, I input in certain like standard numbers, and just all these things just kind of pop up. Look at how beautiful this market symmetry is too, right? So that's kind of what I'm looking at here on the weekly time frame. You also see that the Ichimoku Bitcoin also reclaimed the Tenkan Hero support, right? Now, I was talking about the indexes, how you can have something sinister happen potentially next week. Could something sinister potentially happen here at Bitcoin? Yeah, it can happen. It can dip down, it can wick down, it can do whatever it wants to do, or it can just do its own thing. I mean, I don't really know exactly. And the whole like potential sinister thing that happened with the indexes doesn't always even necessarily have to happen, right? It could potentially wick down here and then just keep going higher. But right now is a pretty strong chart. Right now is a very strong chart here on the weekly by all um, means of looking at this, necessary. Even the daily chart here, I still find it to be a pretty powerful katana here that's unfolding. When I was looking at this katana, I was like, oh, katana on the daily, probably bullish, and then it unfolds and it keeps on serving as support. Could it break down? Yeah, it breaks down all the time with this expanding katana, and it's okay if it breaks down, right? Last time you had a katana here, it ends up breaking down underneath of that here and here, but it still ended up working out. It's still a beginning of a very, very powerful move on the way up here on a daily katana. And right now we have a daily katana. Maybe it's going to help us kind of propel and push through all these resistance, or maybe it doesn't. I don't know. All I know is that something more bullish here is being built up here. My katana is kind of like Danny's red candle, if you will. That's kind of how I see it. My katana is kind of like Danny's red candle. But does it always have to work out? No. A lot of times it does. It doesn't always have to, but it's a bullish signal. Very nice bull flag. We'll see how it goes. On the monthly, zooming out here on the monthly chart here. Let me do that. And I'm gonna get rid of C's angle here. On the monthly chart, I still think that Bitcoin can go up a lot higher over time. If I only have GAN at 15K low. Yeah, I didn't have GAN at 15K. You know where I learned GAN from? I learned GAN in 2024. And you know who I learned it from? Well, I learned from the great Masby. I'm okay. Like I'm pretty good about like pattern recognition. I'm pretty good about looking for like resistance and support levels. But I just haven't had somebody who was able to like mentor and kind of explain how the GAN works. There are books and there are things like that. There are videos out there telling how to set up the GAN and all that. But nobody's really like trying to explain to me, hey, the GAN works. Let me show you some examples, and let me kind of tell you how important the GAN could be in terms of showing market symmetry and things like that. He's really like the first guy that had really explained that to me. And since then, I've just been convinced, and since then, I've been drawing these things, and since then, they've been working out pretty well. The monthly GAN here, how it gets rejected here every single cycle by the ARK, right? And how after every single cycle, backtest the ARK and just kind of go higher, right? Backtest the ARK over here brutally with COVID too, brutally for about 8 or 9 months, right? And then also over here brutally for about 7 months, right? So if we end up backtesting ARK after rejection here, backtest the ARK, then we're probably going to go higher. Higher is going to be the next scan level, which is going to be 200,000, right? You're talking about the horizontal, right? Because it usually tends to gravitate to the horizontal during the next bull, right? Usually, and it goes horizontal here in the next bull. Usually, go horizontal here to the next bull. Does it go to the next ARK on the next bull? Does it go to anywhere here, like from 700,000 to 600,000, depending on where it lands? If it ends up being an extended bull cycle, I don't know. Like a lot of people are saying, no, there's no extended bull cycle. It's extremely dangerous to call it extended bull cycle. No, you just get a lot of people getting trapped. That's what happened last cycle. A lot of people call it an extended bull cycle. No. Well, there's a little bit difference between last cycle and this cycle too. Last cycle, just this whole thing right here just looked completely exhausted, right? But this cycle hasn't even really started like kicking off yet. I haven't really seen bullish trend expansion here quite just yet. So I don't know yet. I also think that Bitcoin dominance is still pretty strong, and we haven't really had like the plummeted, altcoin season that just happened. We haven't really had that yet, right? So if anything, I think the Bitcoin dominance actually telling me that hey, maybe we do have a little bit of a more bullishness happening here with a longer bull cycle, maybe, or maybe this time it's just different. Maybe we don't get the bullish band expansion. Maybe this is the top after whales have accumulated down here for 2 years and reaccumulated over here for another 8 months or so. This is the top of the cycle. That's how far they're going to end up distributing it. I don't know. Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. And also looking at AM2 money supply too, we just back tested the horizontal resistance zone here for AM2 money supply, right? And we back tested almost perfectly. Every single time after we back test something like this, it ends up just going higher. What happened last cycle when we had the same thing, right? You have a horizontal. By the way, this like horizontal resistance lasts for a very long time, by the way, like a lot longer than previous. Here you have a horizontal resistance zone here with empty money supply, pushes through, kind of back tested a little bit, and that's when you had the parabolic bull trend started, right? Here, this cycle over here, you have a little bit of horizontal resistance here to empty money supply. Here, this is like the back test. After the back test is when you have, within like the next few months or so, is when you have the parabolic bull trend, right? We just have a back test just now, and we just started maybe getting a little bit more bullish here. So we'll see how the M2 money supply goes, but I just don't think that the bulk of the euphoria has really even started yet, because nobody really cares about Bitcoin. Like, nobody really cares about Bitcoin except for like you guys who are really truly listening on, which you guys are not typical. You guys are not normal people. You guys are weird. I have Ethereum. I'm going to talk about Ethereum, and I'm going to talk about SOFI, BYON. I'm probably going to end the show here. The guy I started with actually called an Adam Eve bottom for 15K. I was so new, I didn't really understand significance at the time. Yeah. I turn on my laser eyes, like, on, if you follow me on X, I have like a really lame avatar with a poorly drawn cat with laser eyes. I turn those laser eyes on at like 15K. Because it's really like a really, really good bottom. Um, all right, so Ethereum. Somebody brought up Ethereum. I'm just going to talk very quickly about it. I think where we are over here is very similar to where we are over here. There are a lot of things as to why the reason why I say that. First of all, if you look at the cycle, I think that where we are right now, I'm going to take off the fib levels here. I think we kind of just got rejected here, the arc, and come back test the arc down here, push through after breaking through resistance here, right, to the next arc here. We didn't really quite back test the arc down here. This cycle was like, yeah, I mean, we got a little bit bullish here, actually. A lot of people are calling for lower targets. I unfollowed them and muted them all. But when things go down, they can always things going down. But I can see why they were seeing lower targets. Not that they're looking to gain or anything. Didn't end up materializing here, and I'm just getting a lot of demand up here. Whale's been accumulating over here for that entire 2 years. They did another reaccumulation over here for another like few months, right? And right now you're at the resistance zone back over here, where it got rejected over here, got rejected over here. Looks like we're building energy up here, maybe potentially push through. This cycle over here, it only just spent about one time here, got rejected here before pushing through. I think we're getting close. I think we're getting close, and I'm sticking with that story. The levels here too, I still think that Ethereum is going to end up doing pretty decent, because I actually think that where is that right now is not that bad. Last time, before it broke out from here, it got rejected at 0.618, and then it just back to 0.5, and then it's just moon from there, right? This time, I think it was a little bit too premature, because what it ended up doing was it got rejected here at the 0.886, right? And if you were to get rejected or if you were to push through the 0.86, then it's moon time, right? But it just wasn't ready. I think somebody wanted to plummet it down and reaccumulate. That's exactly what happened. So they ended up just rejecting 0.86, plummet all the way down to 0.618. Hold, a little bit of ascending triangle look to it. This is a reaccumulation, guys. Like, this is what reaccumulation looks like. Ascending triangle holding a very important fib level. Big giant green candle that happened afterwards. And right now we're trying to break above resistance. I would like to see it, if we can, close the month about the 0.786. That would make me feel a lot more confident that this is happening. But if it doesn't, I think it's fine too, right? Because these two are still inside candles to this green candle over here. I think it's probably going to be okay. It probably needs to push through 0.86 here before making some higher targets. But I think some of the higher targets I'm really eyeing are 10,000, 14,000, and potentially 42,000, right? A lot of people think that it's like unrealistic. If you look at the can here, where's the next level it's going to gravitate to? If it ends up breaking this resistance zone up here, anywhere from like 30,000 to like 40 something thousand, right? It's if you think if you think it's impossible, I think this whole sideways price action has gotten a lot of people so bitter that they think that higher targets is not possible. So um, I'm not going to dispute that, except that it would be atypical for Ethereum to not go that high. Actually, I think this time is not really that different, even with a lot of other layer ones going around, even if nobody's really talked about Ethereum, even if the sentiment for Ethereum is not very good. Matter of fact, Ethereum sentiment is not very good. Actually, makes me feel hopeful that we're going to break above the resistance zone and we're going to go higher. If you just don't look at anything else, if you just look at a bull in Japan, like if you look at the 20-month moving average, we're still kind of contracting here a little bit on sideways here, but the 20-month continues to go up and it's flipping resistance here to support, right? Resistance to support, which is why I think it's going to go a lot higher. So we'll see. I could be completely wrong, but I just see good things. I have a hard time seeing alt season coming in Ethereum like doesn't do anything. I just have a hard time seeing that. Let's end the show with two more requests that has been thrown at me by Rinsla. The first one is one of my top positions, SOFI. SOFI is basically doing what it needed to be done, which is to come back to gravity and have a candle that touches and holds the upper Bollinger Band while it continues to expand to the upside. Because last month, December, it was just simply way too bullish. It was like Palantir just closed a monthly candle way outside the upper Bollinger Band. That cannot be. That cannot be. So right now we have a bullish engulfing candle here in January to say, okay, we're good to go again. So it's looking pretty decent here on a higher time frame with both upper Bollinger Band and lower Bollinger Band here expanding. 20 moving average continue to go up. On the higher time frame, this looks excellent, right? On a higher time frame, it's a little bit overextended above the Tenkan Kijun here, but just give it time to kind of catch up. But overall, it looks like the trend wants to continue, right? And on the higher time, on the weekly time frame, and I'm going to turn on my GAN here. On the weekly time frame, it did something here, which does get me a little bit worried. It did something here which does get me a little bit worried, which is it touched the arc up here, close to the top of my square, right? Which is a resistance level. And whenever you get to a resistance level after it just broke through, how many arcs did it break through? Arc number 1, 2, 3, and got to the 4th arc. Yeah, am I scared? Yeah, a little bit. Am I going to do anything about it? No, I'm not going to do anything about it. The monthly still shows me that it's got a nice bull trend. The weekly here, it backtests, it pushes through 0.618 here like butter. And it got a little bit exhausted, right? You can also see it on the volume here, it got a little bit exhausted here in the volume, right? So it had to come back down, back test some things down here. Now, how low could it go? It could have gone a lot lower. It didn't. It was going on declining volume right smack into the 0.618, and it reacted extremely well at a 0.618 with a bullish engulfing candle. So where did it end up grabbing up? Well, it's going to end up going up here to the arc up here. That's where it was going to go, right? And now that it hit the arc, and it seems like we're getting a weak, really rejection up here. We have a gap down here. The gap's going to be closed around 16.73. Does it come back and grab liquidity, back test this breakout zone over here around 16.73? Entirely possible. By then, maybe the Tenkin's going to push up here higher to serve as support, right? Before it goes higher. I just have a hard time seeing it break above the arc here and the 0.786 here on the first try. I just have a hard time seeing that, but it's also happening on increasing volume. So I'm not going to be doing one of those like cute things where I'm just trying to sell and trying to buy back, pay a bunch of taxes because my cost average is in the 7s. No, I'm not going to sell here and try to buy back and try to time it and try to go up, especially with this bullish engulfing candle here. We'll see how it reacts to the 0.786. The monthly says that despite any potential short-term volatility, the monthly chart says that the trend is very bullish. Don't worry about it. So I'm not going to try to do one of those cutesy things and try to avoid these minus 20% drawdowns. So in case if I end up missing like 100, 200% gains, I'm not gonna do that. You still have more room here on the Bollinger Band, on the upper Bollinger Band here on the weekly. So who knows what's going to happen? I'm not going to play cute. You're going to find some tighter support levels up here on the Super Ichi, right? So you might end up finding support here as next week. You might end up finding support if it ends up backtesting the zone around 16.73. Not the end of the world, by the way. That would actually be a very bullish development if that ends up happening. That's what I think about SOFI. And I think I'm being a voice of reason here. Have I tried out DeepSeek? No, I have not. I'm a little bit of a lazy cat. I think you did post about DeepSeek here. I have not tried that. Sorry. Remind me. Give me links again. I'm gonna, yeah. BYON, like the band, like the Cantonese band. Wow. Looking at this here, I got to say it's a knife that I probably won't catch because it's lower high and the lower Bollinger Band is like all the way down. So there's really no Bollinger Band support here. The Ichimoku Tenkan is going to be resistance here. If it even ends up retracing back to the mean to like $13, but that could be a lot of gains. It depends on if you're trading. That's a different story. If you're trying to find a bottom, I'm not sure if I can claim this to be like a bottom here, because I'm not really seeing any of the. Yeah, if you're asking for merchandises, I've have like T-shirts and things like that. I just haven't really released them because I just haven't really had time to do that. And I want to do it in a cute way. So anyway, I'm not seeing any bullish divergence here for me to want to catch this knife. Do I see any capitulation volume here? Not really, like enough capitulation volume here for me to really be able to call a bottom. So I'm hitting like all the criteria that I'm generally looking at, and this is just not doing it for me. In terms of like a shorter time frame, you're looking as like a trade kind of thing. I can see it potentially keep going up to like maybe $9, 9.3. Back test this, like do a bearish back test of this like breakdown zone. I can totally see it potentially doing that. Right now, you're trying to fight the bar support band here, though, right? You're getting a high volume candle here, which is great, but slamming right into a slightly negative sloping support band here. So I don't know if it ends up pushing above and back tested, then I can see it going up to like 12 or 13, and that would probably be the end of like this little like up leg here, because you just have so much resistance up here above. So I will probably stay away from this because it's still a knife based on what I'm looking at. So yeah, hoodies, bulls. I can't brush this in more. I guess this is it. I don't need to go for 2 hours. You guys have been excellent, engaging, and give me charts to look at. Happy to talk about more stuff. I'm gonna get offline. I'm see if like Danny Matt are around. I'm gonna chat with them and see what they're seeing and hang out with them a little bit and kind of just take it from there. But thank you for joining, and I'm probably gonna make like a members only portfolio updates and thoughts and things like that here. But I'll do that maybe a little bit later this weekend. Take care, guys. Thank you for joining, and hopefully this time allows a lot of the Asians to come in on like a Saturday night, in case if you're one of those folks that don't like to go out on the weekends on Saturday night and just want to listen to this cat kind of rambling on for 2 hours. Thank you very much. Hopefully the audio this time works a lot better compared to last time. Have a good one, guys. Goodbye.